I've never sailed across the ocean, and I never will. I don't think. If I do, it would really be my wildest dream, because I get severe motion sickness. When I was about 10-ish, maybe 5th grade, I was playing in the driveway with my next door neighbor and best friend, David. And I described something that was going on in my head, something I was visualizing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember the exact spot in my driveway where I was standing and talking to David. And after I gave this vivid description of what I was visualizing, he looked at me with this puzzled look and he said, "My brain doesn't work like that." And it was my first inkling that people think differently, and particularly, of course, me seeing things from my own perspective, I think differently than other people. And of course, later I learned that everyone thinks differently than everyone else. We all have different talents and aptitudes and those sort of things. I was far from boisterous, not what you might think of my childhood. Sure, I got out and had a good time, but there were a lot of quiet moments, and I spent a lot of time sitting on the lakefront, Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans, and watching the boats. Let me tell you, our family was not the yachty type. My parents were landlubbers from Texas, and we didn't get out on the water or hobnob with the fancy types. So I mostly just sat on the shore and watched the boats, but I would watch them come out of the harbor and sail. I'd watch the waves. I'd watch the clouds and the weather. And mostly I visualized what it would be like to be on these boats. And later in life, like college, maybe in high school a few times I went out sailing. But in college I got more interested in it. And after I graduated from art school, I moved back to New Orleans. And I had gotten so interested in boats and reading about boats that I just hung out at the yacht harbor for a few weeks. And some people were working on this old boat, and I stood there talking to them long enough that they hired me. They said, "We need somebody to work for 2 weeks. Can you help us just tear out the interior of this big old boat?" It's a 48-foot long boat. And I said, "Sure, that would be great." As it happened, about a year and a half later, I quit that job. I put my foot down and I said, "No more." But in the meantime, I had learned a lot of yacht carpentry and a lot about boats. The fellow in charge was an experienced ex-Coast Guard fellow, and he liked to do the rigging and the engines, but he knew how to do the woodworking, but mostly he would tell me what to do. And I would ask him questions right up until the point that he was about to hit me. And then I would back off and go work for a while and ask more questions later. So mostly my experience with boats was dreaming about them. I thought about designing them because I was sort of developing into a designer. I went to design school, but not to design boats. Ended up designing paper packaging, and I thought, oh, this is the job for me. I can use my powers of visualization to turn two-dimensional paper into three-dimensional packaging. Well, you know, it was kind of fun. Sharon and I worked at the same place, and she could see I was having a little bit of enjoyment out of it. All through my life, I've continued doing art. And what I've always wanted is a shop to work in. And that's what led me to where I am now. So my dreams are coming true right now. Because just a month or so ago, we moved into a commercial space we've rented. Dee and I, most of you know Dee, we're going to share it, and it's called Harbour of Dreams Art. And it's harbor because it's a kind of a safe place where you can have your ideas and dreams, kind of like Toastmasters, where you have room to experiment and dream. But then you can create things and send them out into the world. So I'm making sculptures and paintings and whatever it is I end up making. And hopefully those will get sent out into the world. And Dee, in sharing her space, she's not a visual artist, she's a performance artist. She has experience in drama, she's experienced therapist, choreographer, and dance therapist, and she is putting together programs to help people deal with, I would say deal with trauma. And the reason I say that is because every day is a trauma sometimes for us. Just driving down the highway can be a traumatic experience. So really everything she does applies to all of us. She has a program called Chi for Two, which is a, thanks, I came up with a name. she's trademarking it. But it's about couples, sort of a couples, sort of yoga, sort of tai chi, but sort of dance therapy. And it's a way couples can learn to deal with their own energy while helping their partner, realizing that their partner is having their energy and their issues too. So that's one of the programs. Another program is Art Moves, which is sort of an art therapy kind of experience where you just get out of your head and into your body and let things move from your brain to your arm and maybe draw a little bit or do some movement or something. It is very excellent at facilitating those kinds of things. We also have already begun drum circles twice a month, Sunday afternoon, and it's a gas. I've done it twice, and it's just a great way to stop and rewire your brain. So these are the kind of things we're going to be doing, and there are opportunities for everyone here to join in. How do you find out about how to join in? Well, you're invited. You're invited this coming Friday, April 27th from 5 to 9 p.m. for our open house. So if you ever said, I don't get invited places, that would be wrong. Because you're invited to come see Harbour of Dreams art, and I hope you do.